Okay, we have another game between these guys, 22-23 versus 20-91, and they are flying. They've played 4 games so far. You can see what the tally is, 3 games to 1. And this is the first move that really strikes me as a bit odd from a structural standpoint. They've both kingside fianchettoed, getting the minor pieces out, and the reason that it strikes me as odd is because you really can't get this c-pawn contributing to control of the center. Playing c4 grants black this nice home on b4. So in short, a more typical reply is just a3. To me, a4 with b4. It is a good pawn move to make, but I think one step is best. So what to do from here? The knight is captured. If it's captured, we'll have, of course, a structural change. This pawn needs a babysitter, and this bishop is the one piece that really needs to get working. How should black do just that? White, I believe, will be striking at this point, or at least should. So we see first with e4, and we could have an additional strike with c4. I wonder if there was a reason to play the rook on f to d1. Keep this bishop having a bishop a3 stuff available. That would be nice. And now, okay, by inducing b6, this diagonal is a bit more weakened, and white is once again probing for weaknesses. Of course, there's this counterattacking, but what is the result? Okay, pawn takes, a very nice shot. You see, I move my mouse before my mouse is faster than my mouth there. That was a possibility, right? But we're having 2 pieces. Very interesting imbalance. Oh, okay, so you have to go for it, do you not? Okay, so 2 bishops versus the rook and pawn. Actually, check that. Rook and 2 pawns versus the bishop. Who would you prefer? Well, how can you open up the diagonals for the bishop? This pawn is passed. c4 is my knee-jerk reaction here, but black is preparing a battery along this diagonal. Bishop here is available. Mate on g2, f3 is there to defend, and now rook to d8, just in the nick of time before d8. Okay, c4 is here, and white, I think, does well to still trade pieces. Queen here, and then if there is a trade, the rook is capturing and picking off this pawn. However, there might be a timely bishop move here to f8, and if rook takes pawn, rook takes d. And I think black would be a bit preferred. Okay, we might be seeing this actually. Or even bishop takes pawn here. What am I talking about? Bishop f8 to attack the rook. He could grab a pawn and attack the rook. So if queen takes, rook takes. Or just the immediate capture. Okay, that's interesting. What I wasn't doing there was considering the move order. I had 2 moves in mind, and sometimes switching the move order could turn out to be better, and I'm not so sure it is better, but nevertheless, black did pick up that e-pawn. The king is now getting closer to the center, and I think by force, this pawn will be picked off. It could be hit a second time with the bishop, as we're seeing, and soon enough, king e7. And what to do in the meantime? I am now starting to like black, especially when we enter a position where this bishop is able to take up residence on c5, but white is now in time to disrupt that. Now, the next square I'm thinking of is, can the bishop get to b4? On the king side, black is favorable, of course, having an additional pawn, 4 versus 3. If the bishop can get to b4 safely, black is, without a doubt, better. King e7. I liked king e7, defense and attacking the rook, and now we are having that. Bishop b4, there is no way to dislodge this link. The bishop on b4, the pawn on a5, this dark square link, and black's plan from here is a slow approach with f5. Well, okay, you can't do f5 just yet. There's pressure on the bishop. So getting these pawns moving, in short. h6 is my first thought. Stop g5. And, well, you still can't play this move just yet. And there goes another pawn. Forget about it. What am I talking about moving these pawns here? You could just gobble up these pawns, and that's it. This is game over. Maybe it's turning out that the decision to trade queens like that, or better yet, the backing up to that pawn advance, probably not a good idea, I guess. Ooh, that's not a good idea either, but I think black was going to win that one. Anyhow, so what is there to point out in this game? Any quick tips? They flew through the opening. Kingside Fianchetto. This was my first point. I like the idea of just a3, and then if a4, b4. We don't have that, and I guess it turned out to not be the greatest thing in the world. Okay, the other point was maybe rook f to d1, and you still give this possibility for the bishop to a3. I'm not sure that white really intends to open up the stuff on the f file, so maybe rook on f to d1 is a little bit better, but who would have thought that the queen was going to play here? I guess she could have done something else like c6 and then queen to c7. So probing for weaknesses with those bishop moves c3 and d4, and I guess this is maybe turning out not to be the greatest thing, or if it is, maybe there is a better decision here. I still somehow think that white is going to be the better side. Maybe this is premature. Maybe still keep these pawns as is. c4. Maybe there's just absolutely no... Oh, I'm sorry. You can't do c4 right away. Or no, you could. c4, bishop b7. Because of the mate threat on g2. Rook to d8. Maybe something better right here. Something tells me that there's maybe something better. What about c4? And if bishop b7, then f3, and you wait a little bit. Maybe that isn't a good approach. This is a tough position. These unbalanced positions, I'm not so sure. Because white was, if you go with the general rule of thumb, white is up material, and now is welcoming exchanges, but now is dropping this pawn. If queen d6, can you watch over it with f4? Well, not really. If you do f4, then the queen gets back on this diagonal. This pawn plays to f3 to shelter the g2 and h1 squares. So very tricky position. It seems like this pawn is going to fall no matter what. Is there a way to double? Not seeing it, right? The pressure on this pawn. We could soon just be having bishop c6 as was played in the game. This pawn gets picked off. Maybe it's just turning out to not be a good idea to go in for that imbalance, giving up the two bishops in order to get a rook and two pawns. Black was able to get the d pawn, and from there mopped up quite easily. So interesting game, and as always, I hope you got something out of it. Take care.